Have you ever felt like no matter how hard you try, it's just never enough? Well, what if I told you that you already are enough? That while it's great to try things and have goals, that whether or not you reach those goals doesn't determine if you're worthy of love, your own love, or love from somebody else. Hello and welcome to the very first episode of Motivated with Meg. I'm Megan, and I'm here to remind you that you are enough, exactly as you are. You deserve to feel good about yourself right now. No need to wait until you've lost weight or become someone else's version of ideal. My goal with this podcast is to motivate you to focus on what you can control when it comes to your self-care routine, your eating habits, exercise habits, and so much more. And learn to be kinder to yourself along that journey. I'll be motivating you to try out small, health-focused experiments to see how they fit your lifestyle, while also shining a light on diet culture to help you remember to love yourself now, to stop hating on your body, because it hasn't done anything to hurt you. It's not against you. It's there trying to keep you alive at all times. And we want to learn to work with it, not against it. We want to learn to love it, not hate it. Why? Because I've been there, right? I've been there. I've hated on my body. I've had internal battles with my habitual self, guilt tripping myself, shaming myself for eating foods I like, but had labeled off limits in my brain. I had this skewed belief that a healthy woman had to look a specific way, which included like a thigh gap and 24-inch waist when I was in college. And so, instead of taking care of my health, I was just striving towards this goal I created in my head to have a thigh gap and a 24-inch waist. And where did that come from? I honestly don't know exactly. It would be media, ads, society, movies, music videos, the people around me in my life, and just interacting with the world and society the way it's set up. Women are really, our bodies are in the limelight. It's always about how we look and our size. And while that's getting better in 2024, and there's a lot more awareness around healthy at every size and being more than your body, it's still really prevalent. And I think it's important to talk about it. And so this podcast is not just hyper-focused on body image or eating habits or exercise, but it's just all of those things, right? Really looking at what health is, really looking at how we can have health from the inside out, from a place of loving ourselves versus hating on ourselves until we get to a number on the scale or get to a certain look. So I just know for myself, especially in college, I remember that there was just this constant hyperfixation when it came to my body, the number on the scale, how active I was being, and the amount of calories I was eating. And this lasted for years, and there was a lot of shame and guilt tripping around it, right? A lot of internal suffering for myself in my own head. And even after I became a personal trainer, it continued. I honestly think that becoming a personal trainer put more pressure on me because I didn't have the mindset, the mental health there around body image and taking care of myself, right? I was young, and as a personal trainer in the fitness world, I was, just falling into these groups that were hyper focused on weight loss because I thought that's what was important for health. And they would try to do those through extreme workouts and cutting out calories. And I thought that was the right way because that's what I was trained and everybody else was doing around me. And along the way, I developed some really unhelpful, disordered eating habits and negative self-talk about my body, and really started comparing my body to other women around me. And it sucked. I never felt great about myself, no matter what I was doing, no matter if I was sticking to a program and eating healthy or not. Like, there was just always something. I was always focused on the negatives, the things I wasn't doing well enough, right? Never feeling enough, versus focusing on the things that were going well, right? That even if it was 2 steps forward and 1 step back, that's still 1 step forward, and I'm still making progress. But it was hard to focus on that. I was always just, in the negative for myself. Anyway, eventually I got, fed up with myself, with how angry and mean I was towards myself, with my eating habits, everything, and how it was affecting my day-to-day life and like making it hard to go out with friends and like order food and have dessert without feeling guilty, or skipping a meal later on because I ate this food with my friends. So now I have to go and starve myself and not eat to make up for those calories or whatever my brain was telling me at the time. And it just was, it just got to the point where I just didn't want to do that anymore. And I was like, I don't know what to do. And so I just, thank you, Google, just started Googling stuff. And I came across health coaching, and there was a health coaching certification that resonated with me. And I decided to sign up. And that was the beginning for me when it comes to shifting my personal diet philosophy, which has been a game changer in how I show up in the world and how I take care of myself. And by shifting my diet philosophy, by letting go of diet mentality, I've been able to take care of myself from this place, this internal place of being kind words to myself, loving myself, and not guilt tripping myself or feeling shameful for the foods I eat. So if you couldn't tell from everything I just said, that my old diet philosophy was that dieting, really, there was no philosophy. I wasn't thinking. I was just mindlessly hopping from one diet to another as long as it promised quick weight loss. As long as it promised me what I was hoping would bring happiness, I would sign up, I'd pay the money, and I would stick to it. It didn't matter what it said to do. It could tell me to cut out really healthy foods and I would follow it if it was promising me what I wanted, which was quick weight loss, because I thought that to be healthy and wanted in the world, I had to be this, 24-inch waist thigh gap girl. And so I was tossing money out the window 99.9% of the time, because most of these are these cookie cutter diets that really, they usually don't work. They're not sustainable. And so my diet philosophy now, years later, is that the vast majority of diets and restrictive eating habits are not sustainable or healthy in the long run. Well, of course, some medical conditions call for a strict diet. A strict diet, highly focused on weight loss alone, often leads to more harm than good. So now, years after being free from my overly controlling diet mentality, I began coaching others and noticing a common theme when I coach people. So many women, and it's not just women, men too, of course, but I'm a woman and I talk mostly with women about this stuff. And most of the women I speak with talk negatively about their body or their eating in some way, shape, or form during the conversation. And I don't even know if they're aware of it half the time. I pick up on it. I'm just really attuned to it at this point. And it makes me so sad and like annoyed at the way our world is set up, because all of them are beautiful humans, okay? Beautiful, amazing humans with talent. And they are just so hyper focused on their looks and their body that they don't show up in the world with their talent, because they think they have to look a certain way to be accepted with their talent. And so I just want to remind you that you are so much more than your body. You're already enough, and you're worthy of your own love and self-care, right? I think it's so important to say that, and just remember that your body is here to help you and it's not against you. For a long time with my diet philosophy, I just hated my body. I just thought it was always rebelling against me and it wouldn't work for me, and why it won't do this for me, versus like loving my body and seeing that it's doing its best to keep me in homeostasis and keep me alive. And that is its job. And I'm putting a lot of pressure on it to look a certain way versus do its job, which is keep me alive, functioning. That is, a little bit about me and my story when it comes to, eating habits and exercise. I would also over-exercise. I would like skip meals and just go try to burn calories all the time. And again, it just caused a lot of internal struggle, a lot of disordered eating habits. And one of the main goals of this podcast is to motivate anybody listening who struggles with this, who resonates with what I said, to remember that you're already enough, and that there's other ways to go about your health. It's okay if you want to lose weight, and it doesn't need to come from this place of deprivation or like jumping from one diet to another, because that really doesn't work. So who am I? And what exactly is this podcast going to be about? I'm a certified health coach, a certified yoga instructor, certified personal trainer, and licensed veterinary technician. I also went through a certification for breathing. I like to accumulate certifications. I don't know what that is, but beyond the labels, because I'm way more than just those labels, I'm just a human like you. And I found that experimenting with small, healthy habit change, I found it to be super helpful. And that's why I'm creating the podcast. And that's why every episode will focus on a key concept. We'll discuss that concept, and then I'll offer you a small experiment or challenge that you can do for the entire week until the next episode. And so these are, within different aspects of wellness, from eating and exercise to emotional well-being and mindfulness. So the idea is to tickle your curiosity, to take the blinders off and be equipped to take action, to empower you to feel like you can move your self-care needle forward in the areas of your life that will help you feel amazing right now, not when you've lost the weight. So I want to create a space where you feel empowered to do those things. While there will be an episode breaking down diet culture and diet mentality in season 1, the eating experiment, coming up very soon, I do want to take a moment right now and just talk about diet culture on this very first episode. because I did just talk about my own dieting history, I think it's important to take a moment and just talk about the fact that diet culture is everywhere and it really can affect you, especially if we don't bring awareness to it, right? That's why I had all this internal struggling and this guilt tripping and shaming and the disordered eating, is because I wasn't even aware of the diet culture around me. And so what is diet culture? Put simply, diet culture promotes the idea that fitness equals health and happiness, pushing restrictive diets and rapid weight loss as the ultimate goals. However, this approach is often unsustainable for several reasons. So I'm just going to go over a few reasons because I don't want to take all the time on this episode to talk about diet culture. We're going to do that in a different episode. Diet culture really focuses on a restrictive mindset, encouraging all or nothing thinking, and categorizes foods as good or bad, which leads to that feeling of guilt and shame. Most of the diet culture diets out there promote short-term results, right? The thing I loved and wanted to be promised. Okay, lose 20 pounds in 7 days. What? Okay. That kind of quick fix promise, it really doesn't offer you a long-term solution. It's usually not teaching you how to take care of yourself. It's just telling you to starve yourself and do a lot of cardio. And that's what creates what is referred to as a yo-yo diet, right? Kind of going through this dieting cycle. They also cause physical and emotional strain, as I went over with my internal guilt tripping. We often ignore our needs, right? So diet culture promotes one-size-fits-all solution, neglecting the fact that each person has a unique nutritional need, different areas of their life, different ages. Some women are in menopause, other women are not, and that's going to matter when it comes to how much you're exercising and what you're eating. And then all those put together make it so that these things aren't sustainable, right? The deprivation and restriction in most diets makes it very difficult for people to stick to them. And then we blame ourselves, like we're just not good enough, versus blaming the structure of the dieting that we were doing as being too restrictive and depriving. And it's actually the diet's fault, not yours. It's not that you didn't have enough willpower, right? It's that that diet was restrictive to the extent that it wasn't sustainable. So the goal is to flip that internal conversation from guilt and shame to self-compassion and joy. From this place, you can create healthy habits and routines that allow you to feel amazing and enjoy life without the deprivation of diet, shame, and guilt. I invite you to join me in the upcoming episodes as we continue to set a foundation for the seasons to come. In this season 0, right, this first season, we're going to have a few more episodes laying that foundation about how we're going to go do these experiments. And then in season 1, the eating experiment will be exploring and experimenting with eating habits to see what feels good to you personally. And that's it for today. I'd love to leave you with one of my favorite quotes by Sydney Banks. If the only thing people learned was not to be afraid of their experience, that alone would change the world. So let's keep that in mind as we go about season 0, experimenting and noticing what we experience with those experiments. Try not to be afraid of your experience and just see what comes up for you. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, be kind and be yourself. Everyone else is already taken.